Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there and welcome back. It is your host, Cesar Espino at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Jill Briska. Hello, doctor. How are you?
Good morning.
Great.
I'm great.
Awesome. Before we dive in, let me give our listeners a little bit of your background and then we can dive into it and you can tell us your story better than I can. But let me still give them a little bit of your background. So Dr. Jill Briska has a Bachelor of Science in Biological Science before going through graduate with a Doctorate of Chiropractic Medicine. Her health journey began at the age of 25 when she went projectile out of a car window and landed on the road. Had many injuries, metal was put in her, and after several difficult months, she recovered. After many health challenges, pain, and not so much help from doctors, she decided to take control of her own health and change her belief system to start a new exciting beginning, and is now running Kintsugi-Wellness. Awesome. So why don't we start by telling us where, your background and where were you born, and more so your background growing up till to the point where you were in this car accident.
Okay. Well, I'm from the Midwest. I'm in the Chicago area, and I actually now live in the house that I grew up in. So and I'm raising my kids here.
That's awesome.
But growing up, it was a very middle class, average family. The only thing that we really did have that was different, I think my childhood, I really enjoyed my childhood, but my dad was very sick, and he was a manic depressive schizophrenic. And we didn't realize how sick he was. My parents were very protective of us not knowing those kind of things, but he did get very seriously sick when I was maybe in middle school, maybe around 13. And so then he was in and out of hospitals, and it was just really very, very serious. And he ended up committing suicide when I was 18. So that, changes your perspective of life. Mm-hmm. I don't think I had my mom was a very active parent, but of course with my dad being sick, he was just in his own world. So that male influence, I think, was lacking in my upbringing. So, but yeah, then I was kind of floating after that, deciding what I wanted to do. I'd go one direction, another direction. And finally, my mom one day was saying to me, one day you're going to have to grow up and make a decision on what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
And I was considering chiropractic, and I said, well, before I start taking all these classes, I'm going to go work for one. And it was a fit. I loved it. So then I had a direction. Ironically, right as I was about to start school, that's when I had the car accident.
Yeah.
So luckily I was young,
Yeah. So,
I got very, very lucky. I got a little bar and pins here and, whatever, but really, it could have been so much work. I was very, very blessed that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, I want to take it back a little bit, and, when you lost your dad and going through that, because I can only imagine what you were going through or how difficult that might have been for you or the family, right? How do you recover from a loss such as that? Because I believe that some of our listeners might be going through something similar, especially with everything going on right now. How do you recover from losing someone so important to you in your life?
Well, because we watched it, once it was kind of revealed to us, then we could see, how bad it was, and he would go in and out. And if you've ever dealt with someone that has bipolar disease, which they used to call it manic depressive, now it's bipolar 1.
Mm-hmm.
They're delusional. They're very stubborn. Like you put them on a treatment regimen or whatever, and they just don't really a lot of times want to follow it. And so they decide to go off their medication, and then you don't know if they're going to be at the house or they're going to go someplace else, what they're going to, in the up and the down. So you just never knew who you were walking in to. When you walked in the house, who was that person going to be? And I mean, he was a sweet man. He was but he was a troubled man.
Yeah.
So I would liken it to, from what I'm understanding, it's kind of like having an alcoholic parent, because if they're drinking or they're hungover or you didn't know. And so you didn't really want to bring your friends around because you just didn't know what was going to be said or what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
So that's what that was life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And did that make a big impact on you overall, or obviously, like you said, after the 18, kind of growing up without a father or father figure, did that make a big impact in your life?
Yeah. I really think as you get older and you go and you don't realize what has impacted you until later. And then you kind of put pieces together. But I think what happened, not having that strong father figure in the picture, but having a strong mother figure, person or representative or whatever. I'm sorry, my brain and my mouth are not sympathetical.
Yeah.
They are, when that is missing, it shows up in different ways. For example, not having that, I think I was for a long time a broken picker. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you choose people that need help. You choose people that are not emotionally available because you're trying to. Now, this is my armchair psychology coming through here, but an unexamined life is not worth living, as the saying goes, right? So why do these things happen? And a lot of times they are your childhood or some pivotal thing that happens. And then you can say, I get it. I understand maybe why I was doing it. I mean, I was making those choices myself consciously, but my subconscious was looking to solve a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of times we're such emotional beings.
Right. So let's definitely. So let's talk about your car accident. How did that happen, or what led to that? And let's talk about that story, because I want to say that was one of your, if not your biggest turning point in life, recovering from that, right?
Well, that was a big one, and then I had another one in my mid 40s that we'll talk about that one too.
Yeah.
But this one, I was 25, and I was in a car with a friend of mine, and he got cut off, and he got very mad, and it started like a road rage thing, swerving, and and I said, I'm like, just let it go, it go, and he did not, and back and forth, and he ended up taking an exit ramp that had a very tight curve at a very high speed, and the truck went into the ditch and started flipping.
Wow! And
I went through the windshield and landed on the road. He was in the car and ended up stuck in the car, so they had to use that jaws of life to get him out. Yeah. And he ended up paralyzed from the waist down.
Wow!
So I wear my seatbelt now, but I think I'm like that small percentage that it was lucky that I did get out of the car.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I had 8 broken ribs, a fractured pelvis. I had collapsed both my lungs. But yeah, I have one little scar right here on my face. I got the bar and pins. So it took many years to, well, recovery was not that bad because I was young. I was a young person, and I got myself together. But then it showed up again, or the degeneration from the injuries just kept getting worse when I started my first practice. And as the busier I got, the worse my health, my back got. So I would be in bed for like a month at a time.
Wow.
And so it ended up that I had to sell my first practice and take a break from practicing for several years. I mean, life leads you and things come together. And it just so happened that at that time that I was getting married and started with the getting for kids and family, and sold the practice. But on X-ray, I look like the doctors say, you may be 40, but on X-ray, you're 80.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Let me ask you, first for the people that are listening and watching this, one of the lessons there is make sure you wear your seatbelt at all times, right?
Yes.
Regardless of whatever,
Yeah.
just make sure you wear that.
I wear it all the time now. So
yeah.
Right.
I mean, definitely, that's good. So, in terms of mentally, emotionally, how draining was that, or what was your experience coming out of this? Even though you had a fast physical recovery, what about from a mental perspective or an emotional perspective? Did you fall into depression? Did you fall into any of those things, or how was that for you?
Well, when you're in chronic pain, it is obviously something that it can wear you down to the point where you're scared. You're so fearful of doing anything to yourself, but you're also fearful of your future. What's going to happen to you? Am I going to end up in a wheelchair? Am I going to be absolutely, am I going to have to get disability? I had student loans to pay, and I had a practice, and I had, a life to live. And then how can I, and luckily we had a surrogate carry the kids. I have twin 8-year-olds, soon to be 9. But so I knew I wouldn't be able to carry physically the kids. But that is one of the things that these little babies came so little, and it was like a workout program. My back got stronger and stronger. And then, of course, they come with all of the, carriers and the diaper bags, and they get bigger and bigger. So I have been pain-free now for 10 years, and I think that I did a lot of treatments. I did a lot of trying this and trying that. I'll get adjusted and everything, but I think that honestly, the thing that did the most for me for becoming pain-free is, one, to be able to take a break from working and strengthening my back and doing some core exercises. But the babies were my workout program.
Yeah.
So, but emotionally going through that is such fear. And do you know who Louise Hay is?
I've heard.
Louise Hay her stuff is so interesting. And she has, like, if you have something, like whether you have allergies or you have, you bite your nails or you have low back pain or headaches, she has a breakdown of what is the emotional message that your body is telling you. So with low back, there's a lot of, that's your foundation, and that's your security, and especially financial security. So a lot of fear came from, am I going to be able to work? How am I going to pay my student loans? How am I going to survive? I don't have, I was fearful, and it was interesting that correlated with that going on.
Yeah, I think with different things going on in people's lives, the one thing that stops people from kind of moving forward in coming out of a difficult situation is that fear of, like you said, not paying the bills, the fear of, am I gonna be okay, the fear of, am I gonna be able to walk? And I think that's probably, I always say this, that don't let the fear take away the opportunity, right? And sometimes we do. People, part of our nature, we sort of fearful, or we do not want to deal with the uncomfortable of something, that we allow for that to take away the opportunity that might be in front of us. And so I think it's always very interesting to see and hear how people in general, like in your case, cope with the fact that, yes, I'm fearful, yet I still got to kind of push through. And I guess maybe what would be some of your, going through what you've gone through, what would be some of your advice in terms of, I want to say you were probably fearful for sure, yet how do you continue to push through that?
I think it is constant soul searching. You think you're done at a certain age, and it never, ever ends. There's always something more to look into on why we do, or what triggers us. Why do we make the choices? It's not coincidence. It's not coincidence that things happen. Because we really do have a lot of, we're a participant. We're not victims in our lives. Obviously, things do happen. I didn't take the truck and make him go take a turn or whatever, but then it's an opportunity. What are you going to, okay, that happened. What are you going to do with it? And are you going to view your life as, I'm a victim, I don't know what's going to happen to me next, and just become more and more fearful? Or is it, well, this happened, I'm going to make a decision because I'm an active participant in my life. What am I going to do next?
Yeah, I really love that. Actually, I never seen it from that perspective. And again, we always see a lot of that victim, playing the victim role, or we feel as we are part of the victim, and really coming into that point of putting in the perspective, you said a participant rather than a victim, is really changing the frame of that. And looking at things from a different perspective, right? And so I really, really enjoy that. That's actually pretty awesome. So let's go to, so you had another turning point in your life in your 40s. What was that?
So when I was 46, okay, I'm 51 now. So just several years ago, I started becoming allergic to everything. Could not figure out what was going on. I couldn't eat. I couldn't, chemicals would be, I'd be sensitive to them. I'd get a rash. I never knew what was going to cause me a reaction. And so I kept taking things out. I got rid of coffee. I got rid of alcohol. I got rid of, avocado and spinach and tomatoes and nightshades, whatever it was, I was trying to figure out, and I was down to 3 to 5 foods. But what happened is my face was always swollen and my hair was breaking off. My hair became very, very thin. And I just didn't know. I had gotten out of my marriage. It was it was not a good marriage. It was, broken picker. Back to the broken picker.
Yeah.
So it was a very dysfunctional marriage, short marriage. Got out of that, and it was a hard divorce. And I had gotten through it, and I'm like, freedom. This is my new life. And then I start getting sick, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I went to my doctor, my MD, and I'm telling her what's happening. And she said, you are old, basically, hormonal and depressed. And I'm like, well, at a certain age, yes, you're getting older, but what does that, it doesn't have anything to do with my swelling of my face and my hair breaking off. Something was wrong. So over that, I left that office, had a good cry in the car, and said, all right, I'm on the journey. I'm finding out what's going on with me. And so I went from doctor to doctor trying to figure these things out. And that's what led me to the energy medicine that I do now. So, but yeah, it was a journey. And one of the things, as I was going through the divorce, I wish I could remember what the doctor's name is that my counselor was talking about, but she said the human condition, we as humans have 3 things that we often, or that we are our human condition that we need to deal with. And one is abandonment, betrayal, and shame. So those 3, abandonment, betrayal, and shame. And so with those 3 things, it's really easy to say, oh, that my father shamed me, or my husband betrayed me, or I've been abandoned by my family or whatever. And that's step one. But where the real work comes in is, where have you betrayed yourself or abandoned yourself or shamed yourself? And so those were all pieces of this journey that really started making major changes in my life. I loved it. I mean, that message was so powerful to me, really life-changing.
Yeah, it's like bringing things into perspective, creating this, being able to create or see things that you didn't see in the past that maybe you had, right? Or they were there. You just needed somebody else's perspective to bring you back to that, and start reflecting on those things. So that's where, obviously, going through all of that, going through multiple doctors, and again, not being able to find that, you said, I need to take control of my own, health life here, and start changing the belief system that you have. And that's where the energy healing came into play. At which point did the Kinzugi-Wellness come into play? And then what does Kintsugi means?
So Kintsugi, because we're getting a little, older, or old enough that I could go back to work. I wanted to stay home with them. And so luckily I was able to do that. But the time came where I wanted to get back to it. And I had, in my first practice, I focused in on musculoskeletal work, adjusting, rehab, things like that. Well, with my back, I'm like, I'm not at my age, I'm not really wanting to, adjust, 25, 30 people in a day and roll that dice. I'm very happy being pain-free. So I knew I wanted to change that, and I wasn't all that excited about that. And so I'm like, I just started looking. And then at the same time, I started getting sick. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like my life's falling apart. And then when I went on my journey and I came across the energy medicine, it was the only thing that made a change. I was on 30 supplements. Wow. I was doing detoxes, and I couldn't make any more lifestyle changes. Wow. I was already down to no food. Yeah. I was so malnourished, trying to survive on like rice, lamb, and bok choy. Wow. You can only go so far.
Yeah.
So when I came across the energy medicine, and it made such an impact, and my face within a week had stopped swelling. I went from not recognizing myself to recognizing myself. I'm like, this is it. Yeah. But it addresses us at the cellular level. That's where we really communicate, how our body communicates to itself is on the cellular level by frequency and vibration. And that's what energy medicine does. So I think it's the missing piece in a lot of healthcare. I mean, obviously you want to work out and eat right, and make sure you're not, the chemicals that you put in your body or you use all have to be, and the emotional. But when you add an energy medicine to it, or energy, and looking at yourself as an energetic being, it changes the game completely. Wow. Yeah. So that's when I knew the path, when you're searching, the path will rise to meet you. And I was like, I really don't do anything with musculoskeletal anymore. Yeah. Now, it is all energy medicine.
Yeah. I'm just curious to actually know. So going through that, what kind of, was it were you allergic to something, or what was the outcome? Where did that come from? Nobody could tell you, obviously. And then until you found yourself. So what was it?
Well, how it ended up, it was like I would say it was a perfect storm. Okay. So emotionally, I had survived, this very, very difficult marriage and divorce. Yeah. I had small children. My adrenals were just shot. I was stressed out. And my doctor had changed me from my natural thyroid medication that I had been on for 10 years to a synthetic. And with that, I was not able to process it correctly. Part of it is because you need to have your adrenals to process that type of thyroid medication. So that was step one. and then they missed an autoimmune disease. They also, along with autoimmune comes gut issues. They go hand in hand. Also emotion, your brain, your gut is your second brain. And that's a concept that crosses all, allopathic to alternative. The understanding that the brain gut connection is so strong. It's also your immune system, 80% of your immune system. So that's the perfect storm. Emotional was going on. And then there was you've got chemicals coming in, but if your body is not able to process it, then it gets in through that gut lining, and then you become inflamed. And the next thing you know, you're allergic to everything. You're going to be allergic. I mean, your body is, it's like a bar, like the bouncer at the bar. The bouncer at the bar has been overrun, and then he's just hitting everybody. It's just chaos. Yeah. And so your body is in inflammatory state. So it's a big picture. We're not just pieces, parts. Yeah. And these things really affect you on other levels. Like I talk about something called the Triad of Health in my practice. So it's chemical. I keep going like this. I know I'm going like this. I need to explain that. It's structural. So if you look at health, the Triad of Health is structural and chemical and emotional. And it's an equal-sided triangle. It's not like structural's big and then the other two are small. It's equal. And when something is not right with one of the sides, other sides will be affected. So if emotionally you're going through something, it is going to affect you on another side if you don't acknowledge it, or so like people that have emotional stuff going on and they've brushed it under the rug, or they choose to like not look at it, they're going to maybe well, if you don't notice me on this way, maybe you'll notice me here or there.
Yeah. So it seems like most of it, or a lot of it, really came down to the thoughts, and it was all internal, whatever you're going through, or seeing or thinking, or the emotional aspect in your mind, in your brain, that kind of led to all of that. And I believe on that too. I'm very big on more so the whole energy aspect of it. I think that just like whatever you believe on will expand. What you focus on will expand. If you're, sometimes the stress levels, or the anxiety, or things that we foresee our body doing, is we're kind of putting that onto ourselves by the things that we think, or how stressful we take on something. And I believe that when you start working on your energy, you start working on your mind, start focusing on positive things, or changing the dynamics of something that perceives to be negative, and change that to a positive, you can have that immediate change of your life, in your brain, more so, right?
Our thoughts are very powerful. Yes.
Right.
So, like a concept is what you think, you feel, and what you feel, you vibrate, and what you vibrate, you create. Because we're really, it starts with your thinking, and very simply, like, how do you think of yourself? What's that self-talk going on in your brain? Are you like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared? Like, this is all going to fall apart, especially now, with the whole thing with the COVID-19, this is a very emotional thing that we're going through. It's not just, a virus. It's just not that. It is, those fears are really coming up. Like, what's the economy going to look like? Or am I going to get my job back? Am I going to be able to pay the bills?
Right.
So trying to keep yourself thinking like positively is really important at this time.
Yeah. So no, definitely. So what does like Kintsugi stand for? What does
the Kintsugi?
Yeah.
Because as we go through our lives, we are oftentimes broken. It starts in our childhood. Some of us we all have had different types of childhoods or teenage years. Some of us, some people have been bullied. Some people have gotten into addiction. Our path leads us. And along the way, we become broken in different ways. So what Kintsugi is the Japanese art form that takes broken pottery and fixes it, repairs it with gold. And the philosophy is that we should be proud of that brokenness, because the gold is valuable. And so with that brokenness, we become stronger and more beautiful for having been broken. We'll never break in the same way again. You know, that's not to say that you won't break again, but you won't break in the same way again once you have acknowledged it and repaired that hurt or that wound or that scar, you know, that problem.
Yeah, no, and I love that too. Actually, I love that term, because again, you know, we do people go through a lot of different things through our life, and sometimes from being broken, something great comes out of that. As long as you work on yourself, or you work on making that, whatever that might be, and changing the dynamics of that. And I've seen it so many times where a lot of people have come from really paths that were really broken, right? And have been able to recover from that, and now made something huge and big off of that, right? And that's pretty awesome to be able to see that, because it is the, like the term says, it is the gold mine of the gold that put it together, right? That the little things in between that created the brokenness into something bigger and greater. So I really love that. Now you have go ahead.
I'm sorry, but it's like what you're doing with your show.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need more of that in the world, because this whole facade that people think that they need to put up, that, oh no, I got this, my life is great, you know, like, oh, I just handled that, I'm, you know, and they try to be bulletproof. We as human beings, we don't need to, like, you know, air our dirty laundry constantly. Right. You know, that's dysfunctional to do that. Yeah. But to share struggles that you've had, we help each other with that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, for sure. Definitely. And I think that's a part of the foundation that we need to do more as human beings. Like, you just never know. I always say that, you know, it might be that word, that phrase, that might be that sentence that you just said, something that you said today in this podcast, that is going to help somebody else, you know, grow or become, you know, a little bit better than they were in the past. Right. And that's part of the objective here. So you have a book coming up. What is that book about?
So I decided to write a book because so much of the energy medicine stuff seems so woo-woo to the average person. I don't think the average person understands, and understandably that they don't get it. Yeah. It seems so out there. But energy medicine is something that is so simple when you get right down to it, that when you think about how on the cellular level our body talks to itself, is not like, hey, go over there, you know, or whatever. It's vibrational, and that is at the smallest level. This gets into like quantum physics, and quantum physics is something that is kind of a buzz thing going on, especially with quantum physics is like the stuff that these driverless cars are all about. You know, Tesla and things like that. And, you know, if you don't think that driverless cars are our future, you know, think about, you know, 100 years ago when they were saying, oh, the horseless carriage, you know, that's never going to take off. Right. Well, here we are. And I really do think that this is going to be what's going to be happening. But quantum physics studies the smallest particles of matter. Yeah. And they don't work like everything else. They have their own rules, or they have different rules, I should say. So they can be in two places at once, that they can also communicate from far distances, like something here can be talking to something in Paris, because they are tied. And that's us. We're tied. We are energetic beings. So as soon as we communicate, we have an energetic link. And so this cellular level of talking when the body talks to itself, it is frequency and vibration. So now look, I should have left breadcrumbs. What was your question?
No, about your book, about your book. Yeah. No, but that's good though. I love that because again, I myself, I'm an NLP practitioner, so I love the quantum physics. I love the neuro-linguistic programming and tapping into that aspect because again, we go back to that. It is all energy. It is really understand the root of anything that we are going through. And when you can tap into that, you can start changing neural pathways and start creating something new, right? And so I believe me, I can relate with you and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of energy medicine going on. I mean, I have stuff that I do, and then there's a lot of, it's a growing field, which is exciting because that means that people are opening to it, and thanks to the internet, people can be more aware of it and just kind of look onto YouTube and find out more about something. But the book, I wanted it to be, it's called The Great Panacea, and a panacea is a cure-all. And my belief truly is that we are our own panacea. We don't need outside. We need, every once in a while, we need to eat healthy. I'm a big advocate for eating good food. You don't need to be taking a ton of supplements all the time. You don't need an outside something. Because at the core, you are going to heal yourself. You might need a little guidance here or there, but really it's that think, feel, vibrate, create belief system, stance that I really think is the crux of everything. So I made the book to be a real easy read for laymen and for no matter what you are, what your belief system is, the allopathic, alternative, or if you believe in a higher power, if you don't, it doesn't matter. It can be, it's a very easy read, like 2 pages a chapter,
Nice.
Here's a little something. And it covers the different the triad of health, like let's talk about the structural side. Let's talk about the emotional side or the chemical side, and how does it relate energetically, and how can you improve that with your own. I'm very frugal, so I don't and I spend a lot of money on treatments and supplements. Oh my gosh, like 30 supplements I was on. Can you imagine how expensive that was?
Yeah.
So I really think that when it came down to real true health, we as people need to be empowered to know how powerful we are to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, you mentioned something. You said your body is the best advocate for your health. I like that. Can you elaborate more on that? Yeah,
things will happen in your life, and when you have a victim mentality, you're going to say, well, you made me do that. If you hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have done this. Where that's giving your power away. And so if you can start with just taking your power back as far as like, okay, this I had, what was my role in it? And start being less victim mentality and more accountable. That's the best place to go, because then the world is your oyster.
Yeah. You
are unstoppable. Because if you're a victim, you're just waiting for it to happen to you. It happens to you. You don't, make it happen. Not to say that you're not going to have things that happen that are a surprise or not, not so great diagnosis or a loss or whatever, but you can take your power back by looking at it and reframing it. Some people will call that you're in denial.
Yeah,
I call it reframing.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
No, that's good. That reminds me of something. It reminds me of the drama cycle, and the drama cycle is consisted of 3 different aspects. You have the perpetrator, you have the victim, and then you have the rescuer, right? And in this drama cycle, you are either playing one of those roles, and when you can step out of that drama cycle and see it from the outside, yes, you can still have things that others will perceive as being a victim, yet you see it as a different aspect. Instead of rescuing people, you're empowering people, right? And so it's really neat how when you're in this drama cycle, again, you're just going around and around through that drama cycle, never getting out of that. When you're outside of that, you see it from a different perspective. And again, you actually go about your own life and or helping other people in a different aspect, because your thought process and the way you're framing that is a lot different than being in that drama cycle.
Yes, the drama cycle. The drama is real and it is prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, I jumped, I mean, when you started talking about it, I'm like, yep. That was most of my life.
Yeah.
I was in one of those roles.
Right. Yeah. And then when you step out of that, you kind of start taking back that control. You start taking back that control of your life and creating something different for yourself, which is awesome.
Very freeing too.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me tell me a little bit about the clients, some of the clients that you have. You do a lot of, your service of healing is really awesome from my understanding. And you do a lot of that for many people. So tell me more a little bit about your service and what is it that you, how you help your other people through that service of healing.
Well, I do. When I started, I was seeing more people in the office. And then the start of 2020, coincidentally, I decided to do more remote treating because I can do that. It's just, all I need is a sample, like a saliva sample or a hair sample, but that holds your energetic. That it's very woo-woo. I will admit that, but it's also, I know from personal experience that this is real, and this can really make a significant change in people's lives if it is an energetic component. I mean, there is no cure all. Unless it's you, right? Yeah. You're the only one that's really the cure all, because at the end of the day, it's your body, and you have so much power over where you are in your health or your emotional state or relationship and things. But I decided to go more remote. So it kind of opened up the country, the United States, so I can take samples from all over the place. So I see people a lot that have chronic illnesses, and they were like me, searching, looking, and can't figure out what's going on with them. And so I take that sample, and it's a report. I have different modalities and things like that I use, but it comes down to taking that sample, looking at it energetically, and then the treatment that I like for that is it's a card. The energetic, the balancing frequencies that come from that report. It's a big report that comes out, and then I find where is there a decrease in what system that needs to be rebalanced. And it looks at 140,000 different things. So it's coming up with what's the priority, because you can think that you're allergic to one thing, but really it's an underlying problem with something else. So that's in a nutshell how and then the person wears that card for 2 weeks, and then they get a report. I send them a report of what was the findings and some other things that they may want to do. So
you do like one-on-one client to you, that's how you work on a one-on-one basis?
Yeah, gotcha. They can go to my website, and there's a questionnaire and the forms and things like that. And they tell me their story of what are their concerns, what are we going to work with. And then I do that for them. I send it to them. And then obviously they always have access to me. Should there be any questions that you're not understanding on the report, because you don't have to have a 14-page report. I'm going to decipher it for you. It's very objective. It's not subjective. It's not like my opinion. Yeah. This is finding where there is an energetic decrease.
Gotcha.
So it's like tuning your radio, well, I'm old enough to know, it's like you tune your radio like that. So, but it's finding the frequency. Gotcha. So you just need to tune it up a little bit. Some people, it takes very few. I usually have somebody get 3, just because that's, gives it a fair chance. But I mean, like I said, I had 1, and it was an amazing change. So that's what I see. Chronic illnesses are very common. Allergies are very common. Addictions. It can be anything, but I really do think that that triad, when you're just addressing one side, you got to kind of take a look at the other sides if something's not changing.
Yeah. Got it. And you have a free health assessment you're going to be offering for those that are listening. So where can they find that, or how they go about getting that free health?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay.
They can just take it, and it takes a look at like your triad. How balanced are you? Is there anything that is maybe, maybe you're needing one side of your triad to be, more balanced.
Gotcha.
So that's a starting point.
Okay.
And then everything, I put so much on my website, my poor web designer. I'm like, can you get this on there too?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So awesome. I've been having a great time. So before I let you go, I have a couple more questions for you. Number one is, where can people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah. So on the website, this is always the best place to start. It has a wealth of information, and it's www.Kintsugi, which is KINTSUGI-wellness.com. So KINTSUGI. And that has where I am. Like I said, you don't even need to be, in Lombard. You don't need to be in Lombard, Illinois, or anywhere close. Because I can, and if there's any questions, obviously they can just pick up the phone and give a call, and I'm happy to talk to you, talk to anybody about how I can help them, or if it's a fit for them,
Right.
Not everything is a fit,
Yeah. So and that's why a free health assessment I think will be awesome. And if what is the saying? If you like what you see and you like how it feels, whatever the case may be, then you're there available to help them out. So that's awesome. So I'll also have that information on the comments so people can actually see the website and they can connect with you in that manner. In terms of, if you had one advice to give people that are listening to us and watching us as to how they can overcome anything in their life, whatever they might be going through right now, what would that be?
This is going to sound funny. Take care of your gut. Take care of your digestive system.
Yeah.
Because of the brain-gut connection. Also, it's your immune system. And especially right now, when we are going through what we're going through in this world, your gut is going to be your first line of defense for your mental health. It's where your serotonin is.
Yeah.
The happy chemical that will keep you balanced and be able to find peace and joy. It's also, like I said, the immune system and your brain-gut connection. So I would say do good things for your gut. Yeah,
definitely. Awesome. Dr. Jill, I had, a really great time with you today. And thank you for all of the, your sharing your story and giving us a lot of value. Is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Be nice to each other.
Awesome.
Watch your temper.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
I love being on. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
A lot of fun.
Awesome. And for the rest of you guys, please make sure that you share, like, comment on this podcast. Please check us out on any platform. You can find us at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Please make sure you stay tuned for the next episodes coming up. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.